you got to get through failure. It's very important. And you get through it by just picking yourself. Opportunity takes place usually when you're young and you don't have any responsibility.
Joe Rogan is one of the most influential media figures of our time. A man who fused comedy, martial arts, and podcasting into a global empire. But beyond the microphone, what does his life really look like? From multi-million-dollar mansions and rare hypercars to a tightly guarded family life, Rogan's world is far more complex than most people realize. How did a kid from New Jersey rise from small comedy clubs to earning hundreds of millions? And in 2025, what new chapters define his lifestyle, beliefs, and influence? This is the untold story behind Joe Rogan's extraordinary life. Forged by change, Joe Rogan's early life laid the foundation for his unconventional rise. Born in Newark, New Jersey in 1967, he faced instability early when his parents divorced, losing contact with his father by age 7. Rather than dwelling on resentment, Rogan developed emotional resilience, a trait that would define his mindset. Frequent moves from California to Florida and eventually Massachusetts forced Rogan to adapt quickly. While challenging, this constant change exposed him to new experiences and helped shape his independence. In Massachusetts, where he graduated from high school in 1985, Rogan found grounding influences. Sports kept him active, but martial arts proved transformative. Training in karate and taekwondo gave him discipline, confidence, and control during a period marked by self-doubt. By 14, Rogan was deeply committed to martial arts, winning multiple state championships and capturing the U.S. Open Taekwondo Championship at 19. Teaching martial arts further sharpened his communication skills and ability to engage others, talents that later fueled his media career. Rogan briefly attended the University of Massachusetts, Boston, but dropped out, realizing traditional education didn't fit his ambitions. Around this time, comedy emerged as an outlet. First as entertainment for friends, then as a serious pursuit, hinting at the path that would eventually change his life. Before comedy became a source of stability, Rogan went through a series of not-so-glamorous jobs, such as waiting tables, driving limousines, and even being a private investigator to support himself. These hardships made him face the world directly, and at the same time, they increased his humorous observations. He was performing stand-up in unusual places like strip clubs and bachelor parties, and this made him tougher. At the same time, it was refining a raw, adult-oriented style that required confidence and quick thinking. His first real break came totally unplanned in Boston, when a brief 5-minute set made talent manager Jeff Sussman take notice. That instant confirmed Rogan's potential and redirected his path. By the time he stepped officially onto the comedy scene in 1988, he possessed an unusual combination of rigor, experience from the streets, and bravery. The process, nevertheless, was a sluggish one. In the year 1990, Rogan decided to leave for New York, where he could fully devote himself to stand-up comedy, and he lived simply with his grandfather while trying hard to get noticed. The whole experience was very lonely, but it taught him an important thing. Success is not a sudden occurrence. It takes a lot of perseverance to be successful. The early years of this comedian's life tell us not only about his modest beginnings, but also about a guy who has been shaped by turmoil, who is always asking questions, and who doesn't give up easily. Long before becoming a celebrity, Rogan had already laid the ground for a career that would include comedy, martial arts, and media, one challenge at a time. As this foundation took shape, the entertainment industry's doors began to open, revealing a new chapter filled with both promise and complexity. Rise in comedy and television. Joe Rogan's full-time move into comedy quickly began to pay off as his sharp delivery and fearless style gained attention in Boston's stand-up scene. His momentum led to a major early breakthrough on MTV's Half-Hour Comedy Hour, earning him a 3-year exclusive contract and introducing him to a national audience. While not every early project succeeded, this exposure marked his first real step into mainstream entertainment. In the mid-1990s, Rogan relocated to Los Angeles, positioning himself at the center of television opportunities. He landed a role on Fox's sitcom Hardball, playing Frank Valente, a cocky young baseball star. Although short-lived, the role showcased his acting ability and opened doors to bigger projects. His most significant television success followed with NBC's News Radio, where he portrayed handyman Joe Gallo from 1995 to 1999. Originally written for another actor, the role evolved once Rogan stepped in. He collaborated closely with writers to shape the character, blending it with his own personality. The experience sharpened his comedic timing and gave him valuable insight into television production. During this time, Rogan also formed close friendships with cast members, including Phil Hartman, whose tragic death left a profound personal impact. Despite the show's success, Rogan grew restless. Sitcom acting offered stability but limited creative freedom, and he found the routine unfulfilling. Determined to express himself without constraints, he continued prioritizing stand-up comedy. This internal push, balancing visibility with creative independence, set the stage for Rogan's eventual move away from traditional television and toward formats that allowed complete control over his voice. At the same time, Rogan took on different TV projects, such as hosting and guest spots, with Just Shoot Me being one of them. His hosting skills were noticed, and this opened up the way for him to change to a new career. His bold stand-up comedy also drew attention, and eventually he released his first comedy album in 1999 and numerous special shows in the early 2000s. These activities not only brought him a new audience, but also showcased his continuously changing comic character. Then the opportunity arose that would make him a star, the host of Fear Factor. His first unwillingness to join the cast of the NBC reality series turned into a rather positive feeling, as Rogan mainly considered the show as a source for his comedy material. The show ran for 5 years, from 2001 to 2006, during which it increased his visibility tremendously, and he was introduced to a larger audience, so his demand for stand-up performances grew significantly. Being the host of this controversial and heavy show also demonstrated his ability to engage the audience even when the situation was tense. Rogan, however, had a tumultuous relationship with the television world. He hosted the show The Man Show with Adam Carolla on Comedy Central in 2003, but the creative differences caused a lot of strain behind the scenes. He reaffirmed his determination to have complete control over his content and to move out of the traditional formats through and beyond this experience. It was apparent that his future was to be with the media, which allowed long, unfiltered conversations rather than being restricted by the networks. For Rogan, television was the means through which he became famous and financially successful. Nevertheless, it also emphasized the limitations he was very much wanting to get rid of. He got more and more daring with his evolving style, and at the same time pushed the boundaries of the comedy theaters that he had built a unique fan base who were ready for something different. His career was at a crossroads, from where he would make the transition from taking part in scripted roles to being engaged in authentic, unscripted dialogues that would characterize his legacy. This period of rising visibility set the stage for Rogan's next big move, but it was his passion for martial arts that would ultimately distinguish him in the world of broadcast entertainment. Mixed martial arts passion. Joe Rogan's involvement with mixed martial arts is one of the defining forces in his life and career, blending his love for physical competition with his gift for communication. His fascination began back in 1994 when he watched Royce Gracie fight at UFC 2. This exposure ignited an intense curiosity about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and the broader world of MMA, reshaping his personal interests and professional direction. By 1996, Rogan was training seriously in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu under renowned practitioners, gradually earning his black belts in 2 distinct styles. His dedication to the sport went beyond casual interest. It became a lifelong pursuit that influenced his fitness, discipline, and mindset. This hands-on experience deeply informed his credibility as a martial arts commentator and enthusiast. Rogan's first official role with the UFC came in 1997, starting as a backstage and post-fight interviewer. His engaging style and authentic passion resonated with fans and fighters alike, quickly establishing him as an essential part of the UFC experience. Although his early tenure ended after 2 years due to low pay and extensive travel demands, his connection to the sport was far from over. When the UFC was bought by new owners in 2001, Rogan resumed his involvement, forging a strong friendship with UFC President Dana White. Initially reluctant to commit financially, he accepted a trial commentary role in exchange for free event tickets. That decision proved transformative, leading to a long-term position as color commentator alongside Mike Goldberg and growing recognition in the MMA world. Rogan's voice became synonymous with UFC broadcasts for nearly 2 decades, earning him awards and accolades within the combat sports community. His intelligent and passionate insights brought a new level of understanding and appreciation to viewers, many of whom tuned in as much for his commentary as the fights themselves. This role allowed Rogan to merge his martial arts expertise with his skills as a communicator. Beyond commentary, Rogan's training continued alongside his broadcast career. His commitment to physical fitness, including tailoring his home gym with top-tier equipment, demonstrated how martial arts remained central to his identity. It also reinforced the integration of mind and body that viewers saw reflected in his analysis and interviews. The MMA world provided a perfect platform for Rogan to expand his influence while staying true to one of his oldest passions. His dual identity as a fighter and broadcaster made him a unique figure, bridging the gap between athlete and entertainer. This dynamic relationship shaped many of the perspectives he shares with his audience today. Rogan's MMA journey is a story of gradual ascent, moving from fan to participant, from interviewer to respected commentator, all while maintaining a genuine love for the sport. This passion continues to define and enrich his broader lifestyle and career choices. Such deep engagement with MMA also prepared him for the next phase, where he would take control of his own platform and dialogue through the podcasting revolution. Podcasting empire growth. By 2009, Joe Rogan had garnered enough experience and recognition to launch what would become a game-changing venture, the Joe Rogan Experience podcast. Unlike traditional media, this platform offered Rogan complete creative freedom to explore topics without filter, setting the stage for a revolutionary approach to long-form conversations. Initially, the podcast attracted a modest audience, but its authenticity and wide-ranging discussions quickly gained traction, distinguishing it from mainstream talk shows. The format allowed Rogan to blend his martial arts insights, comedy, and cultural commentary into an engaging and often unpredictable mix. As listeners grew, the podcast evolved into a hub for diverse voices, from celebrities and scientists to political figures and everyday thinkers. Rogan's unorthodox style fostered candidness and spontaneity, reinforcing his reputation as a curious and open-minded host. This openness spurred passionate engagement, making the Joe Rogan Experience one of the most listened-to podcasts globally by the mid-2010s. Millions tuned in each episode, eager for Rogan's blend of in-depth questioning and personal reflection. His ability to create space for genuine dialogue resonated with an audience hungry for content beyond traditional media's limitations. Rogan's ascendance in influence was such that the major platforms raced to catch up with him, resulting in no less than a landmark deal with Spotify in 2020. An agreement of exclusive licensing that was worth more than $200 million was reported, and the deal created a buzz and indicated the mammoth size of the Rogan podcast market. The contract allowed Rogan to gather a larger audience. Meanwhile, he secured himself financially and was able to invest in the quality of production. However, he still maintained the independent voice of his own. Besides, it was the very voice that made him a significant cultural figure through the exploration of the controversial and stimulating topics. Spotify's acquisition was in line with a digital content shift that was happening at the time, and it highlighted the potency of podcasting as a medium. It was already the case that for Rogan, his little hobby had turned into a multimedia empire. The year 2024 saw the renewal of the partnership, with rumors going around that the contract was worth around $250 million. This mind-blowing amount not only shows the vastness of Rogan's appeal, but also the considerable revenue potential that podcasts hold in the entertainment industry. The Joe Rogan Experience podcast was a financial success that brought lifestyle changes and new ventures to the host and the show. The considerable revenues from different sources such as advertising, collaboration with brands, and performance shows made up the fortune of Rogan, whose wealth is now estimated at $200 million. This strong financial position allowed him to put money into other projects while still being able to provide for the podcast's ever-growing production needs. The podcast was not only about making money, but it was also a cultural issue and a debate on wellness, science, politics, and technology. Rogan's art of inviting guests with differing views was a double-edged sword. Nevertheless, it certainly expanded the horizon of public discourse. Thanks to the long format, the in-depth discussions could take place that were usually absent in the soundbite culture of mainstream media. It was this approach that appealed to a large audience, and thus, the podcast got immersed in the process of exchanging and debating ideas. The podcast also illustrated Rogan's transformation from martial arts and comedy to psychedelics and consciousness expansion. He opened up so much that he was practically telling the listeners his personal life and giving insights through his experiences, which then made people feel very connected to him. This very openness created a fan base that was very loyal and that would go with him no matter what media shifts, new projects, or none of the above. Rogan's podcast was never just for fun. It literally became a part of his life and an essential element of his lifestyle. Despite the increasing popularity of the podcast, Rogan still had to deal with public controversy and debates about content moderation on digital platforms. His way of dealing with the problems was a mixture of openness and rebellion, which bolstered his image as a free thinker who was not afraid to take risks. He had to deal with public controversies and debates about content moderation on digital platforms, but these moments did not diminish the success of the podcast, which continued to be a reflection of Rogan's ability to adapt while being true to his artistic vision. Rogan's podcasting empire is one of the best examples of how he evolved from being a traditional entertainer to a modern media mogul. The transformation not only added value to his personal brand, but also changed the whole consumption pattern of the audience in the case of information and entertainment. The journey of the Joe Rogan Experience is a sign that the qualities of being original, being persistent, and being authentic are still the most significant in a rapidly changing digital world. As his podcast flourished, so did Rogan's ability to translate success into tangible signs of prosperity, especially through his expanding real estate holdings, real estate portfolio. Joe Rogan's success has translated into a striking real estate portfolio that mirrors both his wealth and personal values. His most notable property is a massive mansion in Austin, Texas, purchased in September 2020 for approximately $14.4 million. The move marked a clear break from California, driven by Rogan's frustrations with high taxes and urban living. Situated on 4 private acres along Lake Austin, the estate offers seclusion, natural beauty, and a lifestyle aligned with his priorities. Built in 2006 with Tuscan-inspired architecture, the home was heavily renovated to reflect Rogan's taste. Inside, a refined foyer with paneled walls and antique furnishings sets a bold yet classic tone. The open floor plan connects living spaces, enhanced by deep blue walls and ceilings that create warmth and character. A raised wooden bar serves as a centerpiece, highlighting Rogan's appreciation for entertaining and social gatherings. Large floor-to-ceiling windows flood the home with natural light, while offering sweeping views of Lake Austin and surrounding greenery. Exposed beams and rustic details balance modern design with comfort, creating a seamless connection between indoors and outdoors. Outside, a shaded in-ground pool provides a tranquil escape from the Texas heat, reinforcing the home's retreat-like atmosphere. Fitness plays a central role in Rogan's lifestyle, reflected in his custom-built home gym. Designed with high-end equipment tailored to his martial arts and strength training routines, the space underscores his commitment to physical health. An upstairs mezzanine offers a quiet contrast, a minimalist area designed for rest and reflection above the more active living spaces. Before relocating to Texas, Rogan spent nearly 2 decades in a French country-style home in Bell Canyon, California, which he sold in 2021 for about $3.4 million. The 7,500-square-foot property emphasized understated luxury, featuring panoramic views, expansive windows, and a natural indoor-outdoor flow. Amenities included a covered porch, manicured lawns, a simple pool, and thoughtfully designed interiors, from a spacious kitchen to a game room with a wet bar. Together, these properties reflect more than financial success. They reveal Rogan's desire for privacy, functionality, and spaces that support fitness, creativity, and connection to nature. His real estate choices serve as milestones in his journey, sanctuaries shaped by decades of work, evolution, and intentional living. The physical spaces certainly tell a story, but so do the machines in his garage and the personal passions they represent. Car collection and personal interests. Joe Rogan's love for cars goes hand in hand with his fascination for performance, engineering, and the thrill of driving. His garage is a curated collection that spans decades and styles, reflecting a deep appreciation for both classic muscle cars and cutting-edge supercars. Among his prized possessions is a 2008 Porsche 911 GT3 RS, a high-performance sports car known for its lightweight design, razor-sharp handling, and naturally aspirated engine that offers pure driving engagement. Rogan often praises Porsche's engineering, appreciating the GT3 RS as a machine built for driving purists who crave an unfiltered connection to the road. Classic American muscle holds a special place in Rogan's heart, visible in his cherished Chevrolet Corvette C2, often called the Stingray. Produced in the mid-1960s, the Corvette C2 stands as an icon of American automotive design and power. This car is not just a collector's item. It represents the golden era of muscle cars with its aggressive styling and raw performance. Rogan's passion for these vehicles underscores his respect for automotive history and the visceral excitement classic cars deliver. In stark contrast, his modern lineup includes beasts like the Dodge Challenger SRT Hellcat, a supercharged muscle car famous for its roaring engine and overwhelming horsepower. The Hellcat commands attention both on the road and at enthusiast gatherings, embodying the loud, unapologetic spirit of American muscle. Rogan's affinity for such powerful machines highlights his desire for vehicles that deliver not just speed, but an experience that stirs the senses. Balancing the roar of muscle with rugged utility, Rogan also owns a Ford F-150 Raptor, a high-performance pickup truck built to conquer tough terrains. The Raptor's massive tires and advanced suspension make it perfect for off-road adventure, blending power with practicality. Whether used for daily driving or rough trails, this truck complements Rogan's outdoorsy lifestyle and interest in activities like hunting and exploring nature. At the apex of his collection sits one of the rarest and most extreme vehicles, the Hennessy Venom F5. This American-made hypercar is engineered to exceed 300 miles per hour, among the fastest cars ever created. With only 24 units produced globally, the Venom F5 is a symbol of exclusivity and extreme performance, perfectly aligning with Rogan's penchant for extraordinary machines. It's a display of ambition, engineering prowess, and thrill, all factors Rogan undoubtedly admires. Rogan's ardor is predominantly toward the mighty, gasoline-powered automobiles, but he is also in favor of technological advancement. He is a possessor of a Tesla Model S, which is an electric car that is highly commended for its instantaneous acceleration, sophisticated piloting system, and no pollution at all. Though he is often called a futurist, possessing a Tesla in a way depicts Rogan's acceptance of the changes and acknowledgement of the automotive industry's constantly shifting future. These vehicles do not simply serve as an indicator of one's affluence. They also showcase different aspects of Rogan's character, from nostalgic and rough to the futuristic and visionary. Every automobile is like a tale, some possibly in the past or some maybe in the future. They uncover his enchanting of the handcrafted, rapid, and pleasurable driving. In the case of Rogan, cars are not merely things he owns. They are a part of his personality and interests. Rogan's spectrum of interests, aside from vehicles, includes hunting, cooking, and consciousness exploration through psychedelics and meditation. His cooking space is configured for game meat, like venison, which signifies his relationship with nature and his self-sufficiency trait. Mixing rough activities with mental challenges, Rogan's personal desires are interlocked, forming a lifestyle that is daring, reflective, and non-traditional. The combination of rapidity, adventure, and contemplation reveals the picture of Rogan's life when he was not in the limelight. His ownership and likes reflect the intricacy of a person who practices a balance between physical and mental aspects, movement and contemplation. These passions set the stage for understanding how he approaches his family life and personal relationships. Family and personal life. While Joe Rogan's public persona is often tied to his professional accomplishments, his family remains one of the most private and important parts of his life. He married Jessica Ditzel, a former cocktail waitress, in 2009, and together they have built a family with 2 daughters, born in 2008 and 2010. In addition to his biological children, Rogan is also a stepfather to Jessica's daughter from a previous relationship, rounding out a blended family dynamic. Despite his high-profile career, Rogan makes a point to keep his family life largely out of the public eye, valuing privacy and normalcy. The family initially moved to Gold Hill, Colorado in 2008, but returned to Southern California just months later after Jessica became pregnant with their first child. This period marked a significant shift as Rogan embraced fatherhood alongside his climbing career. Balancing the demands of fame with fatherly responsibilities required a grounded approach, and Rogan often credits his early struggles with teaching him resilience that benefits both his public and private lives. Unlike his work, which is widely shared and dissected, Rogan's family moments remain shielded from constant media scrutiny. This separation helps maintain a sense of normal life away from cameras and public expectations. His approach underlines a conscious effort to provide his children with a stable, supportive environment amid a highly visible career. Rogan has mentioned that family commitments sometimes influence professional choices or touring schedules, demonstrating a prioritization that many fans find relatable. This balance is not always easy, especially as his career has escalated in visibility and complexity. Yet, his dedication to family highlights another dimension of his character, one attentive to the significance of personal relationships over public spotlight. Rogan still steers. Topic concerning his kids and marriage with caution and discretion, not even during his podcast conversations. He recognizes their need for protection, a little, and gives the audience some of the hard times and the delights of fatherhood that he goes through. This transparency gives a soft touch to his otherwise overbearing, independent persona, and people can see a little of the human being he is through this. Over time, some interesting personal disclosures, such as his distant relationship with Gerard and Mikey Way, the band My Chemical Romance's members, have come to light. It is a surprising family-related fact that, however, Rogan has never met the brothers, thus demonstrating the complexity and improbability of family ties very well. Such small stories add color to his narrative without invading his family's privacy. Rogan's marriage and his role as a father are essential to his life, which is usually described in terms of public ventures and daring opinions. They provide a point of view and a stratum in the midst of the transitions of his career and lifestyle. This personal basis gives power to the way he looks at success, health, and wellness. The different aspects of his life require him to play roles at the same time that cover the spectrum from stand-up comedian and political commentator to husband and father. To go through these roles needs thoughtful consideration and personal development, which Rogan frankly acknowledges as essential to his overall happiness. His family is frequently the silent power that supports his constant drive and change. The grounding effect of family life inevitably informs Rogan's worldview and the candidness that defines his public presence, shaping the beliefs and opinions that resonate with millions. Beliefs and public influence. Joe Rogan's worldview defies simple labels. Often described as libertarian-leaning, he blends progressive and conservative ideas, supporting LGBTQ rights women's rights, same-sex marriage, and universal health care, while also defending gun ownership and the Second Amendment. This independent approach reflects Rogan's resistance to partisan identity and helps explain his broad, diverse audience. A strong advocate of free speech, Rogan frequently criticizes what he sees as cancel culture and the silencing of controversial opinions. He argues that open dialogue, even when uncomfortable, is essential for social progress. While this stance has made him a lightning rod for criticism, it has also solidified his reputation as a defender of uncensored conversation. When it comes to foreign policy, Rogan harbors doubts about the U.S. military intervention and is questioning America's role in the world, making a case for restraint rather than aggression. This stance frequently goes against the prevailing views, and at the same time, it promotes critical thinking rather than just taking sides politically. Rogan has adjusted his political endorsements with the new realities every now and then. In 2020, he was in favor of Bernie Sanders, later on hinted at Ron DeSantis as a potential leader worth considering, and in the end, right before the 2024 election, he showed support for Donald Trump. His political endorsements have been mainly about the ideas and the persons rather than the party loyalty. Rogan is also a very public advocate for the legalization of cannabis and the responsible use of psychedelics like psilocybin and DMT, through which he sees wellness and self-discovery purposes. He epitomizes the use of medicinal practices, such as meditation and the use of sensory deprivation tanks, to the whole body and psyche aspect, thus having a great influence on both areas of health and wellness. His frankness about his personal difficulties, e.g., being a person with vitiligo, has also made the audience's relationship with him closer. He has transformed himself into a vibrant and sometimes divisive spokesman in the contemporary cultural debate by accepting one's imperfections and keeping an inquisitive mind. Thank you for joining this deep dive into the lifestyle of Joe Rogan. From his early struggles to building a podcasting empire and shaping cultural conversations, his journey reflects resilience, curiosity, and constant evolution. If you enjoyed this breakdown, be sure to like the video and subscribe for more deep dives into influential figures. And before you go, check out the next video appearing on your screen. It explores another fascinating story you won't want to miss. We'll see you there.